Okay, so first I've got to say, isn't the Monsieur the Marquis just so horrible? I think that one of the things that Dickens does so masterfully is to paint a character through a really specific scene like this. And really the whole chapter that this excerpt is situated in is all about this character. I just certainly recommend this book to you, A Tale of Two Cities. Anyway, because this passage is so long, I think we'll just kind of skim over some of the bits and I'll read out some of the parts that got my attention. First of all, in the beginning of the passage, the Marquis is calmly looking out at the people after the carriage accident, and he asks, "What is that abominable noise?" After that, his hand goes to his sword because someone is approaching the carriage, and it's clear that they scare him. And when he's looking out over them, he sees them as rats. Rats come out of their holes. And this is when he is motivated to take his purse out. And so then he goes on to call the people who are suffering over the loss of this child, "you people," which we know even today when we hear as a pejorative term that just expresses contempt, usually for a group of people. And here it's for the poor who live in this village outside of his estate. And he claims that they can't take care of themselves or their kids, and he kind of infantilizes the adults. And he's also very concerned about his horses. What else? Let's see. When he takes out his purse, he throws a coin out the window, which shows that he values the child's life as being equivalent to one coin. And then when the coin is thrown back, which I think happens on this next slide. Oh, let me see if I can click on over to that. Yeah. When he throws that coin out, it's thrown back into his carriage, which I think is so great. And they don't want his money, and he's enraged. And that's when he threatens everyone there and says he's going to run over them. And then towards the very end of the passage, you really see this third-person omniscient narrator taking on, emphasizing the irony of this whole passage. The irony that any one of us who had accidentally caused the death of a child would be devastated and wondering what we could do to make it right. It is when something that is the opposite of what happens that we call it irony. And this is emphasized especially in this last sentence, where it says the rats were sleeping close together in their dark holes again. The fancy ball was lighted up at supper. All things ran their course. So, just this idea that life continues as it always has, and it's a very matter-of-fact way of stating things when really everything should be thrown out of order because this terrible thing has happened. So, circling back around to the original question, what's the motivation of the Monsieur the Marquis? Is it physiological? Is he concerned about his food, his water, his rest? Is it safety, physical and financial security? Love and belonging, he's caring about important relationships. Esteem, wanting to have a feeling of accomplishment. Or self-actualization, being the best that you can be, achieving your full potential. Which of these things do we think he is most concerned about? Well, I would definitely argue safety, which is amongst those lower needs in the pyramid, and I have them sort of in reverse order on this slide. And I think it's apparent in this passage that he's concerned specifically about his financial security. If the Marquis were to allow himself to see the poor as real people, not rats, not you people, real people with real challenges, then he would be forced to think about whether it's moral for so many people to suffer while he is, living in such wealth. And in fact, earlier in the chapter, it's shown that it takes 4 different servants to bring him his hot chocolate for his breakfast in the morning. But he feels so threatened, I think, by the possibility that he should have to care about these people, because really it interferes with his worldview and his own security in his place in society. If he were to change his viewpoint, it would really mean that he would maybe have to do something about these poor people, and he's just not interested in sharing his wealth or his privilege. I hope that by now you're able to notice how these literary elements overlap with each other so much. And here, this one scene where we've got this character being developed, this omniscient, ironic narrator, it's all building. It's all building to this point where we're going to have this motif developed between about the difference between being wealthy and being poor. Where is it all going? Where does it lead? Well, of course, we're meant to determine the theme about it eventually. So again, pay attention to how all of these literary elements overlap and work together and depend on one another as you read.